Right.
That was a question actually. We were asked like, what we're doing to celebrate 10 years of the Distance EP, and it's this, isn't it? Getting together, reminiscing about old times and how the EP came together, and celebration of love and friendship.
Here's
I
you.
think it's the best way to do it. Let's cheers to that.
Oh,
Come on.
Come on, boys.
All the
drink's going to be
cheers.
done before we even get going.
Ching, ching, ching.
We've all got a really interesting take on how this not only EP came together, but how the band started.
Yeah, I guess.
So I think
Right.
like where it really starts is yourself all of a sudden finding this influence of post-rock music, and certainly myself and Joe, who was drums at the time, didn't really have anything to do with. So your whole take on this EP is bringing that songwriting aspect, heavily influenced by post-rock bands.
Well, I don't know. I'd actually say that the influences came after, like realizing the music. Oh, it doesn't have any words. Like
but you definitely spearheaded some form of the sound, right? Because you had that guitar tone, and then I come in, on the bass, so not even on the drums. So I've got my.
So for context, we've always been in bands together from being kids. We have photos.
Yeah.
The photo.
Yeah. The photo
of us in our first band, which I think we can name drop because there's nothing.
That'll be the
online
one
about
band we do.
You get the honours of name dropping that.
It's called Dive Into Darkness.
Dive Into Darkness was our first band, us three.
Yeah.
And
Let's just show the photo again.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
Covering
too high. There we
such
go.
songs as Paranoid by Backstabber, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Rose of Sharon.
Rose of Sharon. And
by Killswitch Engage.
Between Angels and Insects as well.
Yeah. So the context that we're all like good mates.
Yeah.
You spearhead the music side. I come in on bass, which is something I've never done before. I've always been on
because
drums.
you've always been on drums. Yeah.
Always been on drums.
Yeah.
So my relationship with this EP is totally different to what the relationship with the band is now. And then your relationship with this EP is not even in a music sense.
Completely a visual sense.
It's a complete visual sense, but now playing these songs live.
Visual and audibly as well, because obviously something we'll get into, the visual side that I was a part of was doing the videos.
Yeah.
Also, the first videos I ever shot. And for me, as a director now, being given something instrumental is like, that's like creme of the crop, do you know what I mean? Because that's like doing something with, you create the concept, you create meaning behind the song further than what the band imagine. And the fact that my first couple of videos were, for one, doing videos for your mates, and two, being songs that didn't have any context, any concept.
Well, this is the thing, you know, we'll get into it with some of these songs, but like you definitely like put some of the
created
a meaning.
And even then it's like, I didn't think of it then like that. I was like, that'll look cool, and that was that. But now I can look back and be like, oh, we did create concepts from that
consistently.
It's
like consistent from the first one. So when we get to your first video, it'd be really interesting to hear like your take on it, because I think we've spoken about it a little bit like in the van on the way to shows, but like to actually sit down and dissect it would be really, really cool. I've always just assumed it was a bit of a love song. I don't know why. I think it's the words that are in the title. I think it's the twingy and the twangling guitar, and how ambient it is, and then it's how it drops. There's something really emotive.
Oh god, yeah. Listen to it.
And profound when it drops. So that for me, it's always been a love song. But we heard it 100 times before. When you heard it, when I sent it to you, what was your?
Well, so when you first sent it to me, it was the Winter EP, right? It was, and that was just on
2 tracks, just
two tracks
on Bandcamp,
being Hands Between Us and Maeve, which is the second track on the record. I remember, because the thing is, at the time, I didn't have any history or knowledge about instrumental music, or if it was, you would think it's like orchestral. You know, you never thought about like a rock band being instrumental. Apart from maybe like Metallica's instrumental songs. Do you know what I mean? That would be the limit to what I understood as that, not atmospheric music. So when you sent it, I remember just being a bit like, I think your first impression is like, why are there not vocals?
Yeah, is there something missing?
And then as you're listening through, you're like, I'm glad there's not vocals.
Sure,
Do you know what I mean? And that was my first impression, that this is super atmospheric, cinematic, that's like a key word, especially with this EP, cinematic through and through.
Yeah, actually, great point.
And I think that's the first time you guys probably thought about the idea of it could be a soundtrack to something.
Yeah, definitely. I really like the idea of not having vocals, particularly at that time. We always made a joke about, because none of us can sing.
Yeah.
But actually, I don't think any of us wanted to sing. I don't think any of us wanted vocals.
I think we said
any of
that
us
because
wanted lyrics.
we didn't. I don't know. It's just strange for us to be in a band that didn't have a singer.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, so, and I felt like, and because of, we was an instrumental band or our peers and stuff, and what we knew, obviously apart from Kronos, like, had singers and stuff. So I think it's not like apologising for yourself, but I almost been like, it's because none of us can sing. That's why.
Yeah, you have to give it like a.
And even having a conversation with people. Oh, what do you sound like? Like Pink Floyd.
Always the 70s prog reference, because like
we did.
Really good point actually.
Obviously, like we've met so many people since then, and people who know the scene. So you mentioned like bands that you're influenced by, but it's just a bit of a strange one back then.
Absolutely. Did you have any influence when you were writing that? Is there anything that like sticks in your head? Because when I came in to play the bass, those really complex bass parts, eighth notes all the way through. I was just going by what you and Joe had kind of done. I think I brought maybe something in terms of a melody, but the tone and the notes that you were using were kind of in play. Do you remember anything about that, or is it a distant memory?
I would say, I think it was like magic. I get it. I won't go acknowledge it, but can we get a little like round of applause over the top of it? Putting I would say like the writing of it, just like I say, like the first, like I think we started writing Maeve and Hands Between Us literally in one session is magic. It's not a case of like, we're gonna let's write something instrumental. It's like jamming, and that's what I like. And Joe is a good improviser, so it's very much like that was purely flowed like out of us, and it was cool. This sounds cool.
We're all fresh out of college as well.
Yeah, just out of college.
At college, and having the bug to kind of carry on playing music. And you said like your previous band had stopped playing, so I think it's really important that we acknowledge how just organic it was. And even if you can't remember how it came together, there's a reason
I just remember
that.
There was no boundaries on it, which I think became a bit of a thing later on as you kind of learn more about like the scene or genre you're in. It becomes like a bit more like stylistic like things of what you think of like post rock is, but at that time didn't really know what it was. Like I don't think we walked away from it being like, Max, you want to come jam with us tomorrow? We just wrote some post rock. There wasn't anything like that. It was like
there was no fear in.
No, it was just like, it sounds cool. Do you want to come jam with us tomorrow? And then like you came along and started playing bass. There wasn't like, we weren't all saying, this sounds like this band. It was just so like
you weren't comparing it to something else or trying to make it.
And I think of it back then, I'm like, it was just the most pure. Like it came out and just flowed.
It just flowed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I remember? I remember me and you having a conversation about we want this like certain group of people within the local music scene to really like this. Because like we really respected the music they listened to. And we're like, if we can just get one of them to be like, that's pretty cool, then I think that we'd be on something.
Yeah.
And they liked it, and we were like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Which is probably it contrasts quite a lot to the sort of bands we're in before, which are all quite kind of not pop punk, but like rock, alternative
music,
rock.
It's
and
left
obviously
the field,
catchy,
really.
upbeat.
Exactly. And when you're younger and obviously a bit more immature, playing that sort of music, especially at that time when you had a lot of bands like that were doing well, and you were a young band coming up, you didn't feel that respect. We always had good shows, and it was a good local scene for it. But it didn't feel like almost like the elders of the scene would ever like respect it. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like Coldbones was a very mature.
I think the elders at that time respected it because we were young.
Elders.
Elders.
But I think anyone respected this because it's good and it's different. It was certainly different to what our local scene in Margate was experiencing at that time, and it was certainly different to what maybe the music industry at the time was experiencing as well. I'm not saying we are the first.
I say for our age. Do you know what I mean? For our age, it was like it's a real mature like record, but also just like it was fresh for like, God, how old were we? Like 18,
20, that kind of.
At least you turning 20, like.
this is the only song that you haven't done a video for. Now, we're obviously never going to write it off that we're never going to do a video for this. But do you have any ideas? Have you ever thought about what kind of visual you would have? Would any kind of visualizer or scene in your head that you'd put to this based off of maybe
Hands
you've
Between
experienced
Us,
a couple of months ago, and you're like, hands between us?
I think it's always been that, like I said earlier, all these songs are kind of open for interpretation, and that's a really beautiful thing about creating a visual to something like that, is you can kind of put your mark on it, and you kind of have your idea, and you're like, cool, I can do that. But that also becomes a difficult thing, because then you're like, there's no boundaries to this.
Yeah.
So within that, you're like, I can do anything. So what do I do? And then it almost feels like there's always going to be a better idea.
Sure.
Well, I feel like if you get briefed by a band saying, okay, this song's about this, and you go, cool, I've got some sort of restriction. Let's see how close I can get to that.
Well,
or, you know.
This is the thing. So that's talking about Hands Between Us. But when you think about it, for the first video, I may just be skipping.
Don't skip. Yeah, I wouldn't tell you.
But okay, for this though, when you think about like now with 10 years old of experience, you've got a much bigger skill set. You've got the experience. Like you got people that you know you got
handling quite big budgets
like,
as well,
like producers and stuff. So I think like when we come back to like, you know, the early videos, it was a case of like, what's your skill set? What's your actual experience of what you've done? Do you know what I mean? And I think like
that's not us questioning it either. That's
but there was
us just
limitations
going,
on
it.
It's like do a music video for us. You're like, you just at uni at the time doing your first like video for us. There's certain limitations. Do you know what I mean? It's like with a pedal board. Like if you ain't got certain pedals, like okay, you can't export that sound. For you, like after 10+ years, you're like, oh, I know how to like organize a big location shoot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there's.
But the main thing with those early videos, which obviously we'll get onto, but we had to take the kind of like the what's his name, Robert Rodriguez sort of route, which is if you don't have a budget, which obviously there wasn't really a budget, you use what you've got.
Yeah.
So at the time we were like, what do we have? Cool, we have this free location, or we have these cool things, and we've got all of these lights. And it's about going, what have we got and what can we do? What's impressive with what we've got, you know, rather than going, here's an idea. Like you have to think of an idea with things you've got. That's what I'm trying to say. Because if the second you go, oh, it'd be cool if we had just this big light like that, and it's like, well, that light costs 100 quid. Who's got 100 quid?
Yeah.
No.
So, but do you think it'll be different now if we were to one day do a video? Do you think you'd want to put yourself and surround yourself with everything you've got, or do you think you'd want to go back to grassroots of it and go?
Well, the thing is budget, isn't it? If we were to sit here and then go, cool, we've got 10 grand for a video, or 20 grand, or 50 grand, cool, then sky's the limit. But we wouldn't, unless you guys want to put your hands in your pockets.
Anyone out there want to give us?
Just going back to the Hands Between Us as a track itself, and it's probably you could cover it as well. It's the longest track in the EP. It's certainly one of the longest tracks that we've written.
Is it? It is the longest song, isn't it?
I'm not sure. At the time, it was. On the EP, it was, and at the time, it certainly was.
Yeah.
And it's something that like I'll never forget. We're like, whoa, we've hit the 6-minute mark.
Yeah.
It's like
mental.
It's not 7, is it? It's 6, like 48 or
something like that. So even if we done a video then, but like you've got a lot.
There's a lot to fill for sure, and that's also where I think it would have to be a narrative piece. And to be honest, yeah, I mean, the more I think about it since you just saying that, because I haven't actually thought about that in a long time, it's like, it's nice knowing that if I ever thought of some sort of narrative I'd want to film and go, I don't want it to be something where actors speak or whatever, if it's purely like a visual thing, that song's always there.
Yeah.
And I know I could come to you boys and be like, I've got this idea, and unless it was a really bad idea, I can't imagine you guys being like, no.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't you ever say no. I just think
No.
No, I would delete
Never say
that.
no.
I would delete that.
I just think like it would be strange in a really good way. You know, alien's probably the wrong word, but it would certainly be like kind of, particularly after 10 years, just going back and be like, okay, cool. Let's.
It's like you say, it's an emotive song.
But we have kind of
crescendo. It's like
what we're talking about now of like revisiting an old song and creating a music video with current skill sets. we have done that.
We have done that. We'll talk about that later on.
I would say it's like, I'm not sure if having a bigger toolkit musically in that sense puts a bit too much like constraint on things, because you know, you're thinking, oh, I know what should work. Do you know what I mean? Whereas back then writing those songs, it's like,
Yeah.
you're playing a note and you're like,
What you said, that what Robert Rodriguez,
Yeah.
what's your budget? No budget. What's your experience? No experience. So let's just do it.
or even just like, playing a note and then be like sliding it up and be like, oh, that works. Rather than having that preconceived like, oh,
Is that in the right scale? Or
and those sort of things like can sometimes almost take out that sort of like that element of like, oh damn, that works. Do you know what I mean? Like those mistakes, which like I think you try and steer clear from.
Well,
like,
no fear. Having no fear.
No fear, and I think that's
flow
like,
state, no fear, freedom of expression.
Yeah.
Doing something that's totally different to what we've ever done before, and just having a good time, having fun with it, and then having your mate that you send it to being genuinely buzzed from hearing it as well, and lo and behold, is now part.
Yeah, it's a magical time. Do you know what I mean?
That's a nice way of summing up. Yeah, very magical.
You could all, and that's the thing, we've been there since writing all these other records, but like
all two of them.
Yeah, all two of them, but they've come with the experience, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
It's like, right, we've done this before. We're gonna write a new thing, like
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can't ever do that first music video again. You've done it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you came out and it's magic.
That's a good way. It's magical. You can't ever do your first thing again. You only do it once, and fortunately, that experience we've all played a massive part in as well.
Yeah.
So I think, good start with the hands between us.
Maeve, I mean, gotta blame Joe for that one. Maeve.
Blame Joe for what?
Well,
why
Maeve? Why is it called Maeve? I remember when he said Maeve.
That's that really emotive,
he did tell me once.
It's just right. You Google it. It was like it's an Irish girl's name.
Yeah.
Joe's never met anyone called Maeve. He literally just came. I don't know where he heard Maeve from, but he said it and was like, "Oh, that sounds kind of cool." And then, it's an Irish girl's name. Right? We don't know anyone Irish.
Right.
Yeah. For context as well, now we're all kind of looking up here because we have the video playing up there to see.
To remind us.
It's still a sick video.
It's a great video. I think, before we dive into the video, drums sound great.
Yeah.
Drives the song all the way through. That is so fun playing drums. But the bass is like your guitar tone. I consciously made a decision to get that reverb, or was it just like, oh, that sounds good in my parents' basement, I'm going with that?
Yeah, well, when you listen to it, like the actual guitar bit, main sort of parts, it's not that reverby, it's all this stuff in the background. So the actual tones itself is probably the most, like, you could say dry sound in like the whole of our catalogue. But it's just like crisp, real crisp and clear, isn't it? Like,
I remember when I sent this to you, you done I think I called you. I think you were on tour. I don't know. You were working, and I called you.
I wouldn't have been on tour yet.
Yeah, so I called you, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think?" And you were like, "That was fucking amazing." And I was like, "Oh yeah," and you were like, "Maeve is an absolute banger." And I was like, "Oh, that's."
I do remember out of the two, that one's standing out.
Yeah.
But I think it's because it's a bit more rocky, and I guess that would have been what I was into more at the time.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're wearing that shirt, the same shirt.
Same vibe.
Very similar shirt.
Very, very similar.
It's funny because you listen to these songs, this whole EP, it's very much like, songwriting wise, it's like the guitar is probably the least like chordy, like full chords sort of thing. It's very much like melody based, like purely melody based, and the bass is the thing that really drives it.
This is the only song for me as well. I've got no kind of like lyrical or like we said earlier, the word that made. I don't associate anything to this song narratively, other than being really intimate. And I think the video plays a massive part in that. I think the video has shaped my opinion of this song. It's just a very intimate.
Well, like we wanted that vibe with the video on it, where it's like keep the face. Well, Nick, you probably say more about it, but we very much went for that, like keep the not identity, but keep the faces sort of out of it, and then sort of like really get that like that root, front room vibe until
Yeah.
it reaches this like climatic vibe.
Well,
We're going for it, man.
the
Like,
thing is,
I think you made us do it so many times as well.
Yeah.
oh my god, yeah, we'll get into that.
Sick, man.
But the thing
It's
is,
really cool.
I remember you guys said, or I had said I want to shoot a music video for this, and your response was, "Do you shoot music videos now?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Oh yeah.
and the thing is, because so a little bit of context to that is that I was studying graphic design at uni. You guys were studying music at uni.
Same campus.
Same campus. My first lecture was lens-based media. I just signed up for a bloody 50 grand course, whatever, studying graphic design. The first lesson was lens-based media. Learn how to shoot a music video, to use cameras. Obviously, you need that with like graphic arts or whatever. And I remember I'd shot like a little project thing for that, and I was just like, I love this so much. And I'd been convinced.
I think I was in that little project.
You were. It was for a band called Event Horizon, also a local
another
band.
local band, yeah.
A few members of that in Kronos as well.
I believe so, yeah.
So shot that, and that was just getting your mates in a dark room and whatever. But I remember just being like,
Oh, that was strobe lights in it.
Strobe lights, black background. But I just remember being like, I've never enjoyed something like this. Obviously, bands has always been a big passion, but I thought design is what I wanted to do in Insta. I was like, oh no, it's not. But I knew that we could rent all these cameras from uni, so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to rent all these cameras out. And obviously, that's where this popped up, was like a good opportunity to do something for a really good song, where I know the people that are going to be in it, who are going to want to be in it, being your best mates.
What did you do first? Did you do photography?
No.
First. So this is literally your introduction into
shooting a proper music video with a band actually want to be in it. And I remember the first idea I had was, I said to you guys, I want to shoot 5 different locations and we're going to shoot all these different shots, and the whole video is going to be you guys just in all these different locations, constantly going between in that.
Yeah.
And I think I said to you, like, you guys were like, that sounds like a lot of effort. I was like, I think we can do it in 2 days. And then you guys said, how much is that going to cost? I was like, well, we're going to need the petrol to drive to all these spots, so maybe like 20 quid or 30 quid. And you guys were like, we can't afford that.
Yeah. And Joe is going back to Brighton.
Which is, we can beat this out, which is bullshit, because we all had student loans, we all had like parents' cars, like you definitely drove already, and I think it was probably you guys being like, we're not fucking doing 5 different locations. Even looking back, no way we should have done that. But that, we had booked in a day for the video to be shot. The night before, I'd had this idea, and it was probably miscommunication or not a lot of communication. And I was like, yeah, tomorrow we're shooting this, we're going to drive here, we're going to do that. And you guys were like, no, we're not doing that. And I was like, I don't know what we can do apart from maybe shoot in my parents' living room. And you guys were like, cool, let's do it.
It all fell into place though, because
it fell into
your
place
parents
so
were going away.
They were just going off to work. They were going to work, and I remember saying, right, we're going to black out the living room.
Yeah.
Which obviously is not blackout because it's, you know, just like curtains like this.
Yeah.
And bring all the lamps that you can bring.
Yeah, I think I bought 1.
You probably bought 1, you probably bought 2. I think my parents had like 5. And we dotted them all about. That was the only lighting. There was no other lighting.
Yeah.
We hung up this really thick blue like curtain over the back conservatory window to black that out. Which in the video you can see it, like,
and just think there's a blanket over the TV as well.
Yeah.
Over the TV, and we just made it moody and like really intimate. And
freedom of expression again, no fear. Like,
well, it's cool.
It was just like go in. And...
like we've known each other, you know, for so long,
20 odd years,
and like we spent a lot of time hanging out in that front room, back in like our very first band, all that sort of thing. So like, I think for us, we felt comfortable, like,
very intimate. As I was saying, like the only thing I've got with this song, as well as it's sounding really good, is like it's the intimacy. And the visuals really help it out there.
But what I was going to say, which is what you already mentioned, is I remember you guys saying we don't really want our faces in it. We want it to be not mysterious.
Slipknot Before I Forget.
That was definitely
was definitely a reference for sure.
Good reference though.
It was a good reference. I also remember, and this is getting a bit more like camera conversation, but I remember at the time the cameras that we could borrow, or the lenses you could borrow, there was this lens called like a 50mm, which is a focal length, and the aperture, which is getting into a little bit. If it's a wider aperture, then it's brighter, but you've also got way more depth of field. Right. And I remember at the time, I just thought that the wider it was, the more depth of field it is, the better it looks.
Okay.
Obviously, the more you learn about cameras, there's way more context to it than that. But the whole thing is shot in like 1.8, which is like super, like if you're filming your hand here, you're completely blurry. So it's a very like, there's a lot of depth to the video. And I do think it added to it because it means that if I'm filming your guitar, the back of your hand, Joe's in the background and you only see the shape of him. So his face can be in it and it's blurry.
Was that conscious? You say
I don't think so. Oh no, maybe.
Well, you shot it and then it was like,
have been like,
it must have been
oh
somewhat
bugger,
like,
it's all like this. Better.
yeah,
We would have been like, yeah.
Is it supposed to be blurry? Yeah, it's supposed to be blurry.
Yeah.
But obviously, I can look back and go, like, for a first video, I'm still proud of that video for sure. There's videos I've done way more recent to that I've been way less proud of. So that, you know, it's interesting that I think the same with what you guys said. You went in being like, I've got nothing to compare this to. I'm just going to do it. And we did it. And I was like, cool, this actually looks really good. How have I done that? And it was that. I can't sit there and go, my skill led me to do that.
Sure,
It's completely...
How funny would it be? This is just like a random thing. How funny would it be to like film that like frame for frame now, like us three in the video? Like it'd be so funny, just like cutting between like. Had
the thing
so
is,
much
it's
hair.
like the thing is like there's not.
Actually, yeah.
You had
the elephant
hair.
in the room. Like I had hair back then, you know.
Yeah, but I wouldn't if you guys were like, we want to reshoot that video. I wouldn't. No, of course we're not going to. But like,
no. I mean, I don't think it could be done. Like
no, but it's also like I wouldn't change much about it. I wouldn't look at it and go, oh, that shot didn't work that well. But it's like you'd almost go in it a bit more technically. For example, when there's the shot of, I think when it just drops and the camera slowly goes down and sees you guys.
That's a rad shot. I remember seeing that on the end. I'd be like, oh my god.
That wasn't me so cool. With a tripod with a tilt head tilting down. That was me going, ooh, keep still, keep still. And then when it's like behind the light, where you would use like a dolly or something, like, you know, really smooth tracking shot like that. If you, on big videos, you have like a rail and you have a camera on a rig and you roll it past
it. Really sped up?
Yeah.
Is that still a thing for slow motion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, is it?
So the thing,
in 10 years, there's been no technical advancement where like you can just, well, you know, like with a phone, you press slow mo. Why don't you do that with these expensive cameras?
Well, you do.
Yeah.
What?
But yeah, so
Why
context behind that, the whole video up until the drop is normal.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, looks like normal life. And then from the drop, I made you guys play it twice as fast.
Yeah, bloody remember.
Shot in a higher frame rate, and then when you slow it down, it makes you guys are playing in time, but you're in slow mo.
I could barely play bass to the speed of the song.
Yeah.
I was pretty competent.
But I remember
just standing there playing.
I remember saying, "Don't worry about
what you're
playing, because it's about the atmosphere and it's about the feel of it." And that
you captured the film.
Yeah.
Definitely captured the film.
I think let's pause on the video aspect of this one, because you made a really good point actually, and it was like you said something about technically maybe it's not all there, but this was a starting point.
Yeah.
But as we move through the videos, it'd be interesting to come back to that and work out, like, did you consciously learn from that point? Do you think that maybe Joe played a big part in writing the song because the drums started it? Or because I'm not saying that because...
Oh, this track, it must have been.
But you're quite... When you've got an idea of a drum part in your head, you know what you want. So I wondered if you brought the drum part to Joe, or whether it was like, again, going back to that freedom of being in a basement.
Yeah, well, like I said, these were written in a practice room, you know, well, in parents' basement. So there's no like, oh, I've recorded this. Like, what do you want to do? It's like either it was Joe who started that track off, like how the song is, or you know, if I had something, he just came out.
What the fuck are you doing wearing the same shirt?
You are wearing the same shirt, yeah.
Really thin material.
It was definitely the era of wearing check shirts.
10 years, mate.
10 years. It looks like the same shirt. I remember when, after I joined the band, and I was blessed to be able to play this song live, we played in Southampton.
Yep.
We played at the
Alexander. Good experiences there.
Really good show.
Amazing.
Such a good show. Wasn't a crazy amount of people, but the people there were vibing hard.
Into it, yeah.
And I remember the stage was not a stage. It was almost like, you know, in a pub where you just step up a couple of steps. You're in this little area, like where you eat food or whatever. We were playing there, and I remember it was very, very much a thing that I enjoyed doing playing live. Is just closing your eyes and just like fully, you know, almost like sensory deprivation. You know, you shut off one sense and the others elevate a bit. And I always found that if I shut my eyes, I'd really feel the music even more. And I remember during Maeve, shutting my eyes for probably most of the sort of verse until the drop, and then opening my eyes at one point, and there was a new member of the crowd, which is this woman who had her eyes closed, and she was just like proper vibey, just no, but really like going in on it. And I was like, that's
super intimate. It's an intimate song.
It was definitely intimate. Anyway, after the set, she had come up to us and been like, really enjoyed the set, which is obviously always nice to hear. And she said, what was that one where it starts with those kind of tribal drums? And I never thought of the drums being tribal. When you say that, it's like, oh, it is quite tribal. And in whatever sense tribal could mean in that. But, you know, and she said she was walking, it was a free show, she was walking past, heard the drum intro, and was like, whatever that is, I need to go watch it. Came in and just was like, what is this? Shut her eyes and just started to vibe it. And I was like, that is so sick.
That is sick.
That you would just hear these drums and always be like, I mean, it's like Jumanji, isn't it? Like,
just I just remember that the drums just really being so prominent in this song. But I felt really like at peace with the fact that I'm only playing this on the bass, but it's proper driving the song and it's proper complementing the part, and it's just exactly not overdoing it.
Serve the song, we used to say. That was a real catchphrase of us. Serve the song, but you know the bass, got to say, like,
and steps.
And you came into, you know, the band or whatever it was when we were jamming at the time. You are and still, you know, drummer primarily as your instrument, but like bass, you just picked up and you was like, I think you came at it with a drummer's like perspective, mentality of like, right, rhythmically I'm gonna drive it as well as the drums, but also like the simplicity of it really helps like open up my parts to shine through.
I was very conscious of that as well, like not really going home and trying to practice and being able to do this technical. It's like, I just want to play this really awesome song, and I'm gonna get through it, and I'm gonna play the very basics, but I'm also gonna be as clever as I can with it, with effects and doing certain steps up, and that was
you
so
definitely
fun.
like you invested like, I think you invested more money in the pedal board than Nick had done in that time. Like,
he bought it all off me.
Yeah, and you bought it all off him.
At that point in the previous band, I had a tuner.
Yeah.
That I don't even think was mine.
And that's in the bass. The role of the bass in this EP was very much like a rhythm guitar. Like it stepped the song up and brought it up, because actually when you listen to the guitars, especially in this song, I was listening on the way here and I'm like, there's not like heavy. It's not that. It's like actually all this high sort of like quite trebly sounding guitar, and it's the bass that's just goes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's cool.
I think. Yeah, unless there's anything else you want to add to it.
Maeve.
Whilst we're on the subject of the bass, moving into the next track.
Space.
There is no space for the bass.
No space for the bass.
Space.
No space for the bass. Let me get the video up.
Yeah.
Third track on the EP. Space,
baby.
Space.
Oh man, I remember you, because this is the thing with these videos. This one was very much a case. I think you sent us like an idea of what you're going to do, and then it was like when you sent it to us after, it was like, geez, man, like so buzzed.
I haven't watched this video in a long time.
So this is in the video. This is our mate Vic from Finland, who's just an awesome guy, and personally think played the part so well with, I'm going to say, zero acting experience.
A tiny bit.
But
But he's the kind of guy that's just up for anything.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
The cool thing, in case people haven't realised, this is Nick's parents'
This is the same
house,
living
and
room.
it's the same living room. So I
in the same dimension.
Yeah, I
in
think
the
at the
same
time,
universe.
yeah, I think
we haven't gone full 21st century cinematic universe.
Well, yeah, but also that's a bit of a predecessor to what Coldbones like became with like Cataclysm era stuff. Like this whole like, did we talk about that at the time? About it being in the same front room and it being like
100%.
I swear we were
100% because
the same
we were
world.
quite on that with that.
I'll tell you how I remember that part. It's because the lights again were a big focal point, and I remember us going, it would be really good to keep the lights within that and expanding the scene, but still, because we're not in this one, so we had to have something that was affiliated with that last video. So there was definitely the lights.
Because this was actually the third video we shot from this record. Far From Living, which is the final track, was the second video we shot. This being the third.
Yeah.
I remember with both Maeve and Far From Living, you guys wanted performance.
Yeah.
And this one, I think you were straight up just like, do what you want. And then I was like, you know, it's well we spoke about hands. It's like it's so wide, and I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, yeah, do what you want, but you know, if you can keep it in the same world, that'd be cool. And I honestly remember, I mean, this actual shoot, I'll explain in a bit, it's one of my favourite stories ever, so I'll explain it a bit. But I remember thinking conceptually about this. This is the first time I thought about a narrative behind a video, right? Because this is the third video I'd ever shot.
We're gonna get Peter, like.
Oh yeah, this is the third video I'd ever shot, and it was the first narrative video I'd ever shot.
No fish were on this video.
No fish. They were my fish. They lasted years after that.
I remember seeing that as well. Being like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, because we didn't see any of it.
No.
You saw
Because
nothing.
like you said, we gave you free reign.
so
It's
cool.
just like the bit when it comes out and the sun.
You could only do it once.
This is great, and that obviously that drop is just like
Heavy, isn't it?
and it took us ages to get that. It took me, you and Joe ages to work out this song. This was like song 3 demo for such a long time.
No, it's very true.
And we couldn't get it. We didn't know what was happening. I was trying to play, and it's not working, and then we were like, strip it all back.
Yeah.
Strip it all back. I don't need to be in it. You play, and then we'll hit. And then
There is so much, so much this video to chat about. Is mental.
I'll give us the old rundown of the timeline of shooting this.
So but firstly I'll talk about the concepts that I remember thinking about, and from watching it back now, it's coming back to me. I remember using just the word space and thinking about it in terms of the lack of and the like almost like the contrast of small space and a big space.
yeah.
And that's where you've got Vic waking up, and the way I saw it is that this house was the smallest version of something, and being at the beach was the biggest version of that thing.
Yeah.
Once again going, what have we got? We live in Broadstairs or Margate or whatever, and we've got the beach down the road, and what's the opposite of that? Okay, it could be, what's the opposite of the sea? Okay, it could be a bath. Oh, how are we going to make that bath feel like the sea? Fish. I've got 2 fish. Cool. All right. Okay. What's a cool time to shoot at the beach? Oh, I guess sunrise. Okay. Well, what's the opposite of the sun? What's the smallest version of a sun? A lamp. Cool. Oh, we used lamps in the other video. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we have Vic wake up in bed and he's just like in his pajamas, so it could be a dream or it could not be a dream, and he goes downstairs and he just looks at this lamp for a bit, and he feels, you know, like no emotion. There's nothing about it which feels, there's no interest behind it. And then he goes in the bath, and then that transports him to the contrast of that being, you know, his head goes down in the bath.
It's pretty
and he comes
cool way of
back
thinking
up.
about it.
Very caveman, very like almost discovery.
Primitive,
like staring at the light. And almost like having this realization there's something more out there. There's so much more space to explore.
That's
really
it.
cool.
I feel like every part of that, every shot in that video resembles space in some regard.
Do you when you like were playing space for the first time, or like whenever we played it in the set, did you channel any of that? Because you didn't come in until that drop in the song. So you do Shaker, you know, but you didn't come in. Like do you ever like think back to filming that? Do you ever visually imagine in your head that part where Vic comes out the water?
I think just like the energy of the song in that point is like unrivaled by any other song that we've ever written. Like that is
hits hard.
It hits hard, and you can tell every time in the crowd, if it's one person or 100 people or 1,000 people, that song does something to people,
With
or
the
that
floods.
drop.
With the
Yeah, and
floodlights.
that's it. And we always had the floodlights come on,
Yeah.
and people were like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" You know, and it was like the energy behind that. Whether I was thinking about what happens in the video or not, I think is just like a really
Sure, yeah.
beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. So arty as well.
Very arty.
For
Yeah,
something
yeah.
so for someone so or for a group of so young, you know, and fairly inexperienced as well.
Very
Finding
inexperienced,
your feet. It's a very mature way of looking
This
at
is a video I would love to reshoot, because I think
Really?
that could be done to a really high standard with not a lot of effort, because it's the same. We'd be doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a free video.
Stick it back on.
Would you like to hear how this
Yeah,
this
maybe.
video was shot?
Yeah. I've got a question. What time of year was it?
It was May.
Okay.
Oh no, April. It was April.
Ooh, bit chill out.
So, I told Vic I wanted him to be in this video.
Yeah.
I hadn't planned it that much,
Right.
because I was like, cool, we're gonna film some stuff at my parents, because I was living at home at the time. Wait for them to go to bed. We went to the Yard of Ale, which is a small pub, now closed down, sadly. Went there, had one too many pints, and was pretty tipsy. We had dinner just before that. We go there, get a bit tipsy, and then we get home, and we're just chilling in my bedroom, which is the opening shot in the big bed. We had ordered an 18-inch pizza.
Hell yeah, man.
We had smashed that pizza, and we're sitting there being like, oh, we should start shooting soon. The first shot in the house.
This adds to him coming downstairs. Like,
Yeah. Full of 2 dinners and like 5 pints.
Yeah.
And so we shot all this stuff at probably about 11:30 at night, maybe 12.
Were your parents home?
Yeah, in bed. Yeah. They were in bed at the time. Maybe it must be about midnight then. So anyway, we shoot all this stuff. It takes us about an hour, maybe. Obviously, it's not very technical, but once again, like all these like panning shots and stuff is just handheld. It's not rigging up a tripod or anything, so it's quite efficient.
You'll be good at painting Warhammer. Yeah. Steady wrist.
And then obviously runs the bath, puts the fish in it, goes down, and we're like, cool. We need to go to sleep now, and then we're gonna wake up for the sunrise. I hadn't checked what time the sunrise was, so in my head, for some reason, I was like, maybe 8 a.m. It was like 5 a.m. And this is 1 in the morning. I was like, oh no, we've got to be out. And the thing is, neither of us drove, and this is like, that's Joss Bay, right? So it's about a mile away from my parents. So we
It's
actually
a bit longer, man.
no, it's exactly a mile. If I've ever run down there, my watch always goes just as you get to the beach.
God.
So it's just, or maybe just over a mile. We had to walk there, so what's that, 20 minutes in the morning?
A drain at any time, but like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's downhill, luckily, a very long downhill.
it's long.
This then becomes a part of the story later. We walk down there at like 4 in the morning. We get down there. I've definitely got some like memory I've pushed back that I didn't have something that I might have needed.
Right.
Whether it was, I obviously had batteries because we still shot, but there was something I was like, shit, I haven't brought this. It might have been, we had this really cheap jib, which is like a crane, and it's like you have it here and you lift it up and the camera goes really high.
Yeah.
I think I might have like left like the tripod plate at home. I was like, because I wanted that first shot to be a big jib shot, you know, all epic and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever. So, cool, first shot, Vic's going to be in the seat, and he's going to be down in the seat, and then he's going to lift his head up. We stepped into the water, and I kid you not, it was burning how cold it was. It was, I've never felt water that cold in my life.
So that's him genuinely like.
Yeah, like, because the thing is, like, we were standing there, I stepped out of the water and was like, we can't film this. This is too cold. And he was like, no way I can go down in that. Like, it was burning your feet how cold it was. and then I was like, literally standing there watching the sun come up. I was like, oh, fuck this. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And Vic literally was like, let's do it. And I was like, are you sure? And he was like, let's do it. I was struggling to stand. I was struggling to stand in the water when he was like,
Yeah, he's from Finland.
he's
Come
from
on,
Finland. Yeah, he's right. He literally
Never let
goes,
himself down.
he goes, ready? 1, 2, 3, up, and he goes, and he's literally like, his breath is
Yeah.
gone. He comes up and he was like, you got it? And I was like, no. And he's like, okay, goes down. We get like 3 takes of that. And him walking out of the water and him falling over onto his knees.
Yeah.
He looks
genuine.
broken. He looks broken.
Yeah, he was absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
I'll get into another part of the story after. But anyway, so he comes out, obviously standing on the beach, and then he walks back in, looks at the sun, nice panning shot across, dips to black. Lovely. Straight after that shoot, obviously he's freezing cold. He's in his pajamas, and he's like, "Okay, have you got a towel?" No towel. And he was like, and all he had is this big, like, long, what's the name of those coats? Just a big, like,
Dry robe thing.
no,
It's like an overcoat, like
an overcoat. Yeah. Like not a parka, but
Like
similar.
a bench jet coat kind of thing.
Like
a wax
a
jacket.
trench coat sort of thing. He had that, but not that thick. And he was like, I was like, shit, should I call us a taxi? Trying to call a taxi at like 5 in the morning, no one's
They're
picking
gonna
up.
let you in.
No, exactly. So he was like,
Naked
cool,
guy
we'll
in
just walk home. So we walk home, obviously,
Up the hill.
up this massive hill. We finally get back to my parents. I'm like, dude, do you want to come in for a shower? I was like, I'll just walk home, which is, he lived next to uni at the time, which is another mile and a half away. He walks all the way home. I messaged him for like 2 days, being like, mate, you all right? Nothing back. And I'm like, I've just ruined this friendship. I've like killed him off. I knocked for him one day, like on the 3rd day, I knock on the door, and he's just like, literally the imagine in your mind just like ill.
Yeah.
Around him.
What, like ice from his nose?
Yeah, just so.
Oh.
And he was like, mate, I've been so ill since then. I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, how's the video looking? I was like, it's looking really good.
It looks insane.
It looks really good.
That's so
So,
funny.
So when you say you would love to reshoot this, he's probably going to watch and be like,
well, we're doing summer. And even then, it'll be cold in the sea. Space.
Space banger. I love
Yeah.
That's such a great live song, that is.
well, yeah, one of my favourites to play live on both bass and drums.
Yeah.
And just like that, the power of one edit, we have replenished our supplies.
Oh, yes, baby.
I suppose before we move on, Geordie, grab the record, hold it up. This is the vinyl of OOP
Just
Distance.
flip that bad boy
Flip
out.
it out. Let's go on, mate.
It's
It's
not
not
actually
in
there.
there.
Hang on then. Pop it back. Pop it back. Pop it back. Pop it back on. Oh no, yeah.
Well, in this time, we'll say, so it was originally released by Dream Atlantic Records in 2014, but re-released by the
Stick
wonderful
it in there.
people.
We'll do that part again. We'll do it.
Oh, start again.
Yeah, stick it in there. Side A first.
Going to cut that.
I would delete that.
My goodness, making that hard
Yeah,
work.
hold it over.
Cool. Let me position how it was. What's heavy in it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I think we're halfway through. Grab that vinyl.
Yeah,
Hold it up.
boy.
We are incredibly proud of this because, as well as being our debut EP, Distance, the amazing people over at Dunk
Good old Dunk.
decided to re-release it
Ooh.
on this absolutely amazing. Was that half and half?
Half
Like
and
what
half.
do you-
Half and half. Yes.
Half and half. Yeah, split, transparent,
Partially
orange.
transparent.
Yeah,
I mean, we matched the colours pretty
Yeah,
well,
it's
didn't we?
yeah, it's
actually?
really, really good. Very
Yeah,
happy with that.
It does show on camera, yeah.
So yeah, a massive thank you
Yeah.
to both Dream Atlantic, who released that in 2014, and Dunk, who re-released it. You can go and grab yourself a copy from Dunk if you are in Europe, or if you are in the UK, please go and visit Church Road Records, where they are still available. Yeah, it's something that we're really proud of, and it's good to have in the collection.
And it's great 'cause, after 7 years after releasing it just on CD, to then be like, oh yeah, that artwork was like made for a vinyl.
100%. Yeah.
Well, that's a lie. Because I had to remake the artwork.
Oh.
Not the painting bit, but I had to. No one had the original
Oh
file.
yeah, yeah, that was it.
No one had the
Yeah.
original
Oh.
file. So I had to get this. It's a little bit pixelated because that's ripped from like SoundCloud or something. Screenshotted or
From
whatever.
Bandcamp, from
And then I had to take it into Photoshop, match all the colours, get the type again, find these weird little squiggles that were
Oh,
next
cool.
to it, and do the front and back and redo the artwork.
little
So-
bones. They're like, are they like little bone emojis, or like dog bone emojis?
It is actually dog bones, yeah, from Photoshop.
Amazing.
Weird, isn't it?
But yeah, thank you very much to everyone over at Dunk. Please go and have a look at everything on the Dunk website, particularly our stuff, obviously.
Hell
But
yeah.
yeah, they're a great record label, and Church Road as well. All good stuff.
Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on to the next track being
Summit. I really like this track. I think for a very long time for me, it was one of my favourite tracks on the EP. I believe we went through a couple of reworks between us. Don't think anything major, but I think it was just that if you listen to it, there's a few extended parts, and not necessarily bars that are off or that don't conform to the 8, 16, 32, but I think at the time we were really working on, right, how long do we build it for? How long do we build it for? When does it need to come in? And really like kind of trying to vibe off each other from the practice room and translating that with Ian in the studio.
Well, I think this one was actually written like on Logic, demoed on Logic, and then practiced and like jammed after.
I think so, yeah. I think you're
Like,
right.
cause what pretty much when we released the winter 2-track demo, obviously Maeve, Hands Between Us, and then Dream Atlantic got involved. They was like, oh yeah, like we'll put out an EP. We're like, oh right, we need to write an EP. Let's get 3 more songs. I mean, that's how it pretty much was.
Yeah.
So that there's like some Logic demos, some old demos I was listening to, and it's
We had a meeting with them, didn't we? It was
Yeah.
really, it's really cool because we had a meeting with Joe and Jay, and we showed them what we've got, and they said, yeah, we need a few more, and you were like, I've got some bits, and we got going again, and like I said, and as you were alluding to, it's definitely a song that's pieced together on a bit of music software that has really come to life over the years of all of us playing it. So it's I would say it's probably my favourite song on the EP. I'll go as far as saying.
Again, it is one of those songs where actually, apart from the drop, the crescendo part, like the guitar is all very much high melody sort of stuff, and there's a few rhythm guitar parts that like that sort of like harmonise with it, but like
it's a very one guitar song, like a lot of this stuff.
Pretty much the most of the EP is literally like it's like written as a 3-piece, and then all the other layers like pretty much in the studio done. You know what I mean? And that's a whole different thing being, but it's one of those. It just builds. I love the build of it. The chords that I'm using.
It really
in
works
it,
on
like,
that, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When we done a video for this 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Not 10 years ago.
No, we decided to do the song justice and put something visually out there. I believe it was to celebrate the release of this vinyl.
No, this was 2021. If that was 2 years ago, math.
2021.
Doesn't it say at the end of the video?
I think so. Let's stick it on. So we done this to celebrate, because we really felt that this track needs. We play it live all the time. It's a staple in the set, and
so this was the music video for Summit was to celebrate it being pressed on vinyl, and we wanted to do something for it.
So we had a conversation about how we wanted this to look visually just as a band, but once again, like you very much led the way on what is going to be included visually. I think we all had some form of like agreement that we wanted this typeface, we wanted that colour yellow, and we wanted it to have that artistic feel to it as well. So when we say a celebration of love and friendship, I think it's important to acknowledge that we were all at very different places in our lives, and you being in Belgium and focusing on our careers and families, it was just really good to be able to come together and once again do something that we're proud of.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Reviving the old, I suppose.
Yeah, it's funny now because we're watching a video, like say, like 7 years after releasing it, and now, instead of us watching us 10 years ago or whatever in the front room, this is like they still got those sort of vibes, like practice room vibe, which I love. I like that. I don't know if we consciously thought that, but like going back to a practice room gives me Maeve vibes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, it's like, you know, you look at us like it's like the age ups in it, and I'm looking at that, I'm like, it's a strange time for us to do that video. Like you said, like there was actually distance, like physical large amounts of distance between us,
Yeah.
like just geographically where we were. But like I say, you know, I think at the time was this like post COVID? Was this had we started playing?
It was.
This was.
My hair was short, so it was after COVID.
Your hair looks sick in this, by the way.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks really strong.
I want to chop my hair off now.
let's do it.
That.
Oh,
We do it
yeah.
now. But that's the thing. It came at a time where, like, you know, we're trying to like rekindle this energy of like this early days energy of the band, you know. And this is a great thing that we're doing this now. Like we're now all living in the same, you know,
Same area.
Yeah. We're doing this like closeness. It's really nice. Like, and we're watching this. I think we were trying to rekindle that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, I remember us talking about like we want this video to feel like it's recognizable to if someone was like, I'm going to watch all the videos from this record, that it doesn't feel like, oh wait, this one was done more recently. It's still got, you know, we're using the lamps, that was a reference. We've got the beach, that's a reference.
Same beach?
No. Different beach,
right?
But one beach along. But we wanted it to make it, we needed it to feel like it was a part of the same EP and not like we've decided to do a new video.
Yeah.
And like you said, the song is about friendship, it's about us being together. And then we were like, well, every time we're together and enjoying ourselves is when we're in the practice room. So let's use the practice room as you know, the performance space. And then we've got all these like really nice cutaways of us in quite an intimate setting, showing that there's all different sides of who we are now.
Can you talk about that a little bit as well? The visuals that you went for. I don't know what I'm talking about here, but when like we're all by the cliff face and you've got that slow movement of, it's not zooming in or is it pulling away? Like why did you do that?
Well, I think it's both like a visual and a creative decision in terms of all these shots are distorted in some way, or there's some sort of movement which just makes you feel kind of immersed in the shot, whether that's this sort of like blurry filter over it or if it's slowly zooming out. It's very like introspective.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure we achieved that with this shot in particular. Everything up to that point, you see us individually, and it's when the song drops that you suddenly see us all three together.
Yeah.
And that's almost like, it felt like that part of the song was a very powerful moment, and seeing us together at that point was that. And I think just once again, I wanted to try and figure out a way of just seeing us in like an introspective, but also very like, I can't even say this word, celebratory, you know,
it's so sick. That
in a
shot.
celebrating sort of sense.
Yeah, because it was all about celebration.
It's funny though, this gives me Maeve vibes, you know what I mean? When there's a lot of, and I'm going to say the guitar part, then when the guitar goes, and it slides up, I just, it's a vibe. It is a vibe.
I'm gonna say something, and I think it's
sick, actually.
I think it's a big compliment to you as well. It's very, not the practice room shots, but all those beach shots. Very Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you agree with that?
I agree with that. Yeah.
What's his name? Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really cool and very artistic. Again, it's you developing in your role as not just a band member, but someone who's really in charge of our image. You know, I think we've got a pretty good idea of where we want to go with how we look and how we sound and how we present ourselves, but also to put it in a video for X amount of people to see is a big thing. So you've smashed that, mate.
It is emotive though, isn't it? Like as a video, like when I think about like, and I didn't think about that all separate until that comes together.
Yeah.
It's cool.
We definitely wanted to represent the practice room vibe because we've got the live rig there. We're actually all playing live.
And we've all got our in-ears in.
Yeah, we're all
like we
playing,
wanted it to feel like, the thing is, one thing I remember discussing is we didn't want to make it feel like necessarily, these shots especially, like a music video.
Yeah.
It needed to feel like three guys jamming in a room, like we always do, you know? And I think we definitely achieved that. And then the other thing that I think is really nice what we did in this is, obviously the lights that we've always used live is a very big part of the stage show. And when I first, so you guys, before I was in the band, just had the fairy lights.
Yeah.
And then once I joined, we stepped it up a little bit, and we had the floodlights.
Yeah.
And we had the strobe light. That was the
And the
next
poles.
step. Then the poles came in.
Yeah.
No, we had fairy lights. We had a lot of different things, and then that developed to having moving heads and strobes and all of that stuff. Obviously, we could have used that for this, but we were like, no, we're going to go back, and I'm going to use the original rig that we used, the very DIY setup of having all these lights on, and then I'm going to press this button, and the floodlights are going to come on.
Yeah.
And we actually did that live. Like, you can't really see it, but like I had that little foot switch in front of me. That was the original one we used.
Time of that foot switch, man. That was
Nailed it. Yeah.
It's always really cool. You press it and it was like, boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like we just made sure to go back to the roots with that, which I think is really nice on this.
Shout out whoever's filming it as well.
Viktor Kovachev, of course, the legend. I think that was also something that was because obviously I'm in these shots, or half the shots anyway.
Yeah.
Where I couldn't film them. Obviously, I guess I was directing it, and then we had Vic come along to help out with filming my shots and a lot of the performance stuff. I think I actually filmed both your shots, and then when I was in the shot, we just passed him the camera.
And Trix was involved in this as well.
Yeah.
So when we say it's a celebration of love and friendship, it's between us, but we've also got people that really matter. So you've got Trix helping on. This must have been really, really nice. And we've also got Vic, and Vic has just been such an amazing friend to us, and also such a stable part.
Different Vic to Vic that was in the video.
Yeah, different Vic to Vic that was in the
also
video.
Bulgarian Vic. There you go. Different part of Europe.
But he's been with us.
I mean,
since the start.
Vic was there on Far From Living as well.
Yeah. When we do like the Coldbones, like Christmas meals and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Vic's
there's always very much part of it.
So it's a real celebration of just who's involved in it.
Good shot.
That is amazing. That shot.
Slim jeans.
But yeah,
Skinny jeans.
I think the song speaks for itself.
Yeah,
baby.
Being honest with you, I'm very happy with how that one turned out. Very, very important to acknowledge your presence throughout a lot of this EP, even though sonically you're not on it. Yeah, you're still around, and maybe that's what kind of led us to the decision to, when Joe did leave, it was like, well, I could either carry on serving the song and just kind of enjoying playing the bass, or I could go back to playing the drums. Really enjoy playing Joe's drum parts.
I remember the conversation we had around that.
You were on tour. That's when
I
you
was
were
on
definitely
tour.
on tour then, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And we were supposed to shoot a video which was the first single off the next record, when I got back from tour.
Yeah.
And you called me up and you were like, Joe's left. And I was like, oh, mate, that's really annoying. We've got this video coming up, and it's for a banger as well. Where It Began is a banger, and I was really excited for that. And I remember you saying, like, we've got the video, but also we've got the show coming up too, in Margate.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember saying,
Black Cat.
and literally, top of my head, I was like, well, if you still need to do that show, I'll fill in on bass, you play drums until you find a new drummer. And then I think you were literally like, let me call you back. And I was like, have I pissed you off or something? Like, whatever. Anyway, I'll carry on with the talk. And then like an hour later, you call me back being like,
you're in the band.
you're hired.
You're a bass player.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, that was a dream. Do you know what I mean? Hearing, like, because the thing is, how much those first songs resonated with me. Being able to do visuals about it, but also being proud of you guys for writing it.
Yeah.
And just being like, I love these songs. And it's not like I was a part of the band and had helped write the songs. I'm like, cool, these are our songs. These were like, it's like playing in one of your favourite bands. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, I'm in the band now. And also, this video we're just about to shoot, we need to get Vic along to come and film it.
Yeah. The closing track, the heaviest.
Yeah. It's got. I remember, like, I think the
Start it again. Bring it back
the writing of this song was very much a case of like, let's start a song, kicking it straight in, Do you know what I mean? And I do think at the time this would have been, got to mention them, big love to all of them, Tides of Man. I swear that
Mate, that Young Courageous album.
Yeah.
That, I think that for me, when we're going back to like, oh, where did these like first couple of songs start? The Hands Between Us in particular. You kept saying like Tides of Man, and I only knew Tides of Man from when they had a vocalist and they were on that whole Rise Records thing. And then when you played them to me, I was like, oh, this is that band, and you were like, yeah, look what you can do, and I was like, oh, and then this, like you said, very reminiscent of some of their songs.
I would say like my favourite, has to be my favourite post-rock band. Like, so sick. What I loved about Young and Courageous album was the way it to me it felt like a rock band, like structure, songs being quite short,
and that's what you wanted.
Punchy.
This is what you wanted this to be.
And this song ended up, in that sort of aim of being punchy.
Quite a lot of hair in this video.
Quite a lot of hair. So this was filmed. Canterbury Christchurch University,
Broadstairs
campus, RIP,
Yep.
in the big hall. So obviously, at uni we were able to, like Nick was able to rent out stuff. We was able to rent out the hall, which was really cool. They're always really lovely there.
Security guard was well on our side as well, weren't he?
He was a good guy.
Oh, Mo, what a legend.
Yeah. Oh, Mo,
what a legend.
He loved us. He was like, anything you need. We're like, get in there.
Just don't put any smoke out on it.
Yeah, we put some smoke out. Smoke went off.
Yeah.
We put the smoke machine on.
Those
alarms going off for like an hour.
yeah.
Weren't they?
And then the
God.
parts where we've got to talk about the mask quickly. Our good friend Brad Macon.
Yeah, I think there was
Brad
something.
is a jack of all trades.
Oh, don't sing his praises too much. He's got such a huge ego already.
When I say jack of all trades, I mean he's great at knitting and
he
some other bits.
definitely has more Coldbones memorabilia than any of us.
100%, yeah. I think, Brad made these, but I think it might be our friends Regan and Ollie who's helping us here. So we've got the really sharp, punchy sound. We're straight into it, and then all of a sudden we need to bring it down. So when you hear this, Nick, and you're like, okay, we've got this song, we want to do this as a video. I can't remember if we brought it to you or did you come to us and say, I want to do Far From Living. First one you done was Maeve.
No, you told me that's the second single.
Okay,
for sure,
so what are you thinking when we get here? We're saying we've got these masks. We want to again hide our faces, but also be really present and obvious in some of the shots here when we're flickering in and out.
Well, this was like, the thing is, at this point, you guys had developed the live show bit with the fairy lights.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd seen that, the footage that we actually have of that. You actually see me on the side of the stage holding a little camera.
Yeah.
Had we played any shows by then?
Well,
Yeah. I feel like all that came later.
I don't know. I feel
I
like
feel
you
like
did.
it came all later.
Because the fairy lights were my idea, and then you guys started to use it live.
Our first shows were in. There's a lot of hair. Our first shows were in May 2015.
We need to get.
We'll figure that one out.
Yeah.
So either I was like, let's use fairy lights, or you guys had used fairy lights, and then we took him to this. I remember buying these fairy lights from the range. So anyway, whatever. I remember thinking about this one and just being like, I want a big dark room, and you guys were in the middle of this big dark room with cool lights. And I remember you guys just saying we can't just have another performance video. There needs to be something else about it, and we've got like our mates. Well,
I just realised they were in the video.
Had made these cool masks, and this is probably where, like, in terms of concept, it was very much like, we haven't really got one. But it's going to be a cool visual, and let's let people interpret what it could.
I think we did have a concept in terms of like, we've got the name Far From Living, so we've got the distance concept in there as well, and now we're introducing an element of living or being alive. And I think those masks, that ominous kind of presence in the video, definitely complements the sound and the title. So it's a very basic concept, and I'm probably scrambling here. We were definitely conscious about why we're putting people in suits and masks in our video.
Yeah.
I remember getting there and we were thinking it'd be like blacked out, and you was like, yeah, you're definitely going to see the background in this.
Yeah, you're definitely going to see the fire escape.
This is like my second video now.
Yeah.
So it's like coming off the confidence of the first one, be like, we're going to shoot this now, and then just being like, all right, we're definitely going to see the walls in this.
Yeah.
Do you remember how long that shoot was?
Oh, That was probably the longest shoot I've ever been on.
I think it must have been about 12 to 16 hours.
Yeah, we just did.
We had the biggest bang over, like,
Yeah.
after that,
It's
literally,
like-
like, neck was
But
froze.
look, you know when you watch it and you're like, there's not that many shots in it necessarily. But yeah, I remember at the time I was just being like, we just need as many takes as possible. So it was just take after take after take.
Do you really need that many takes? Do you still do that, or do you kind of trust the process a bit more? Of
I think it depends on the video really. It depends on what you're trying to achieve with it. Like the thing is, having a range of shots is important.
Yeah. Not the range of the same shot though.
No, exactly, and that's what we were doing. We were just going, let's do that shot. Cool, let's do it again, but slightly different. Let's do this, let's do that. And instead of thinking, for example, I remember Brad bringing his longboard along, and he was like, if you put the camera on that and we roll it, it's going to be like a dolly shot. That's what you tried to do in the last video. And I was like, cool, we can do that on a bigger scale. And we did that, and it's a bit bumpy, and there's a couple of shots of that in there. But for example, that should have been, okay, cool, this dolly shot's really good. Where is this going to place in the video? Let's have a think about this. Let's decide that is going to be the moment for that.
That's what you'll be doing now, right? So that's your
yeah. Especially because it's nearly a 6-minute song. Obviously, if you're doing like a 3-minute single, which usually singles would be, it doesn't matter if you do a few more takes of it. But we were just like, cool, let's put the camera on the skateboard at this angle. Cool, do that. Let's do 2 takes of that, and then we're going to put there another 2 takes of that, another 2 takes of that. That's 6 takes of a 6-minute song with probably about 5 minutes in between. That's like an hour and a half, just for the rolling. Do you know what I mean? That's how the time added up.
Yeah.
I mean, the video came out good.
I think the video came out really good.
It's I would say
Really
it's
good
my
as well.
least favourite out of the 3,
Okay.
excluding Summit. Still like it.
There's a few Easter eggs in this video, isn't it? Or just like things only maybe some people would know.
Like what?
Like that hall was used in New Heights.
Okay, yes.
We used it later on as well.
The mask was also used
In Where It Began.
Began.
Well, we got another mate to wear the mask and stand in the sea.
Yeah.
Wow.
We
Some
really-
would say we are just not that creative.
Yeah, that's it. We're like,
We're just
Well,
rehashing.
no, the
actual
early
ideas,
videos are creative, and then the later videos are like, let's just do that.
Well,
again.
I think you would find like this was like from how the band progressed from that EP, it was like conceptual stuff, right? And I think we visually we really went for the whole quite a lot of visual actual concepts, and they helped bring the songs to life a bit. But I think we carried that on into Where It All Began with the concept of that and the cataclysm. But it's just cool. I don't know, when I think about like those little things that we sort of like kept going and using. Oh, it's like to say, I use my Tokai Strat that I use, which I actually bought off a lecturer at uni. Like that, I haven't used that on any other record since Distance, but like that Strat sound and that Fender Deluxe.
it's like a twangy sound in this, isn't it?
Yeah, the Hot Rod, whatever, Fender amp. All that sound was just very much of that time, because that's just a guitar I was using a lot at uni. But those guitar tones are not something that I've replicated since, and maybe I just sort of fell out of like love of that sound and tried other stuff out and also built a bigger pedalboard, etc. But it's just it's a raw record, the sound of it, and I think the videos are quite raw in that sense as well.
This song, us playing it live, we've always struggled with.
Yeah.
This is, out of every song, one that we always have to revisit, always have to put a lot of energy into.
Dynamic, isn't it?
Because it's so dynamic. And we would literally, because at one point I remember we were like, we just need to scrap this from the set. Even though it always did well, but we were always like, there's something missing about this that all the other songs have. And we would literally just play the first 30 seconds and stop after that and be like, right, you change that, you go a bit heavier on that, you do picking a bit different. And we really had to fine tune it.
It was quite frantic. Like, there's always like, bah, 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 bah. And you're like, oh my goodness. And then the whole drop out, for me, the anxiety of like, bow, bow, and be like,
It's very delicate at some stages. It's also that I would say that it's the first time where we've expanded the sound from the start of the song, but audibly, I think it sounds like there's more people involved in the track as opposed to the other 4 before this.
Yeah.
It's all very much like 3-piece raw
yeah,
sound.
it's a bit more like got that fourth person in it or whatever.
Yeah. But it's a great video.
We used the lamps in this again.
Yep, again, not being very creative either.
Yeah, it was a long video, but
it's funny. Sorry to cut you off there, but I would have, when you look at the timeline of like how we done these videos, you would have thought this would have been the first one.
Why?
I think because of like one thing saying like with those sort of little things when you're probably looking at it and you're like so when you was picking out that stuff on space on the beach, that zoom like that's an untrained eye for me. Like I couldn't notice that, but I guess with this I could see like plugs in the background, some other little bits where you'd probably tidy that up now. Maybe I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I think we definitely were very confident coming out of Maeve because there was definitely a lot of luck in Maeve that things look good with not a lot of effort. And I think with this was something like, cool, we're going to do that on a bigger scale without thinking about the actual production problems that come with it. Okay, cool, we want all these lights around, we want all these plugs and stuff, and we want this massive room, and we don't want to see the background. It's like, cool, we need a haze machine. Cool, we've got a big room. Haze machine. Oh, we haven't checked if there's smoke alarms. There is smoke alarms, we can't have haze. All right, we're going to see the background now, which means you're going to see the plugs, which means you're going to see all the wires. Do you know what I mean? And then suddenly it's like, from one little thing becomes a lot of problems. And obviously, you know, we were just like, cool, deal with it, whatever. But I guess it stands out a little bit now watching it, you know.
Yeah. It's really funny. Joe's using my drum kit in this video as well.
Oh, the Mapex kit, yeah.
Tama.
Oh yeah, that's the Tama one.
Was it Tama?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is Tama, yeah.
It's funny, like wearing like the same suit that like graduated in. You know what I mean, like the same, but style-wise of what we're wearing.
Yeah.
I think it's at the time, right? Forgive me if I'm wrong, but like definitely, I know Joe was into, and we was all quite into the Def Varna. What was the record that they done? Oh.
Don't pretend like you don't.
No, I can't remember the name of it, but I know the guy, or the young guy sits on the front. It's black and white. Oh, what is it?
I don't think
Young. No, I was gonna say Young Courage.
I think it's fair to say we didn't really want to do this like a really grungy look, did we? I think that was important for us. We wanted to just be a bit more authentic to ourselves and not. I don't want to say pose. I think that sounds a bit.
When you guys wrote this, did it feel like a very different song to the other four?
Yes.
And did that make you go, that's going to be the last track? Or because the other thing actually, which is important to say, is that Summit actually seamlessly goes into Far From Living, right?
Yeah.
Or there's the interlude, which we've now made into another song.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, yeah. So let's quickly discuss that. So, like for me, Far From Living always had to exist at the end because it had the word far in it. You know, far is it's the last point, so go there.
I never thought of it like that.
In Summit, when we done that little interlude, and there's all that feedback you hear. I don't think we intended for that to go into Far From Living. I think we just played quite a lot with feedback and noise with Ian, and Ian really led on that production part to include a lot of feedback and noise in there, because we're using so many overdrives and distortion pedals. So that was always going to be the last song. Yeah, oh mate, that was always going to be the last song ever. I can't remember if this was us going, oh yeah, this is the natural progression, because it's definitely the last song we wrote. But I can't remember.
I think it was a case of like, because all the songs were like not slow burners, but like they built and built. Whereas that was like, okay, we're just giving you this like space where there's like say all the space and like, whoa, big moment to be like, okay, chill out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, really playing with dynamics.
It's the most rhythmic song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I had to learn all the songs, and we had to play a lot with. There's one part in the song when it drops, kind of like almost at the same time. Yeah, and well, no, but just after that, when the guitar goes like and the bass goes like bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum, and me and you had to just lock in with each other at band practice, and
it definitely made us work as a band to like.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think that's almost like it gave us the time to be like, okay, we do actually need to push to go a bit tighter on these songs, because a lot of the other songs, I mean, Space for example, when it does drop, it's so heavy and distorted and loud that you can kind of mess up a bit, and it's just noisy.
Apart from when like the drum itself, got to get those pedals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like of course it's got to be in time of that bit, but the rest of it can be a little bit
No,
shoddy.
it's definitely a good song for like if you've only been in the practice room for a while to be like, right, this one.
Groove's hard.
This is going to be the one to get us
groovy,
back in the groove because like you got to work on it. You got to work on those dynamics. You got to work on all that stuff. I think it's a great bookends to it.
Yeah.
It's like
That's also the problem I think with what that comes with it is you can't imagine it being anywhere in the set apart from the end. If you're going to play that song, it can't be in the middle of the.
Have we ever tried opening with it?
yeah.
Really?
I swear.
I don't recall that. Maybe for good reason, to be fair.
I swear we.
It'd make everyone jump, wouldn't it? Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why we did do it.
Okay.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Benjamin's got footage of that.
Yeah, send it to Geordie because he's got all the footage and no memorabilia.
There's not it's somewhere, but there's not enough. There's not a lot. I'm just saying this. I'm putting it out there for this band for how. I think for how good.
Yeah.
That's an understatement. Our live shows are there's not enough live footage of us online.
Mate,
So
that's a testament though. We don't want people glued to their phones. We want people present in the
yeah,
moment.
well, no, that's very true. A
dancing
lot of
along,
people
do you know what I mean?
are like the lady in the Alexandra, in the moment. I think we've always been us performing live. It's a moment thing where like you elevate the song through not trying to perform it, but the fact that you feel it and the music takes you to a place where like you're just like.
What do we call it? The dark world.
The dark world.
Dark
It's
world.
this visceral, animalistic, like this energy where like you can't, it's not like, you can't plan it. Like the shows and the performances, you can't plan that. Like
the thing I think is that kind of going off the back of that, or maybe a better way of saying that is we've been really lucky to, for one, enjoy the live shows as much as we have, but equally not from assumption, but from hearing people's feedback, how much people have also enjoyed the shows.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's no feeling like that when someone's like, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah,
of course, I'm sure some people haven't liked it, especially with these early songs when we had the raw and ready lighting rig and all our gear was not as like fine-tuned as it was on the later stuff, which you definitely hear in the production of the records too. When you go back to it, we were a bit, oblivious to what things could be, and I think that has lent itself to the sound and the live show back then.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's a good, almost a good place to end. We need to acknowledge that slight interlude part between Summit and Far From Living. And last year or the year before, we decided to turn that into something, and we recorded and released a track called Breathe, which you can go and listen to now on all streaming services. I think it's very, very much of that distance time. I think I think we tried to go back to those sounds and tones that you were using on guitar. There's definitely conversation with Ian around that. And I think that is now our longest song. It must be.
Did we intentionally do that? I felt like it was like, let's just make it like the longest song we've ever written.
We wanted something a bit more post-rocky and progressive, didn't we? We wanted to do something that we hadn't really done before.
But it was also, I remember when that was being written, we knew that the idea was to be based off that small interlude, and we were like, we're going to see what we can do as musicians by taking this one small part and let's see if we can expand that to a song. And that wasn't us going, let's stretch it. We were like, we're going to dig deep within it and see what extra melodies we can find and see if... Do you know what I mean? It was almost like, it wasn't like we're going to write a song. It became a bit of a project, and it became a bit of a, let's see if we can do this. And we never sat down going, this has to work. It was like, oh, cool, this has worked out. Let's do this as something.
Exactly. That little interlude tag was something that you thought of 10 years ago. And we didn't want to not include it, so we just stuck on as a tag at the end. And now you get to come in and be part of the Distance era sonically, and I'm still part of it, but this time on the drums. It's that progression.
That's cool.
So it's really cool that we've got that track available within the context of this, but also its own separate thing. So not included, just a nice little shout out. I think that basically summarises the Distance EP. I think me talking about it with you guys, what I've kind of learned is that Maeve was the worst name ever. We should never have called it Maeve. Probably should have called it something like Close, because we're talking about intimacy.
Oh, that would have been cool.
We got the hands between us, close. Maeve is very intimate, so we got close. Then Summit being the top,
Well,
and Space being the vast.
Oh yeah,
area far from
how have
living.
I never thought of it like that?
And just say about Summit.
I've always thought of it just as just being distant. We were all distant.
Was that the only song that Joe named?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Idiot.
And is he in the band anymore?
And he's never gonna see this.
There you go.
Just say about Summit though, because I didn't mention it before. Like, I really felt that was the song where like vision in my head, like, Christ, if we had the budget, get yourself on top of a mountain, and like when the guitar just goes,
Whoa.
it gives me that vibe.
Green screen or actually like there.
Well, you know, on green screen right here, like it's just, yeah, that song. Like, I remember, I swear I can picture myself like in the room having a conversation about something and be like, oh yeah, because it's like the top of the mountain. Like,
Well, that was definitely a conversation in terms of using the cliffs in the video, though.
yeah, it must be.
It definitely was, because the thing is as well, the promos we shot around then, and actually the shots that we used, which are really nice shots thinking about it, where it's almost like a profile headshot. Obviously profile looking at the side and you see the sea in focus in the background. We're standing at the top of the cliff and you're focusing at the bottom of the cliff being the sea. So that is kind of what you're explaining, but instead of being a ego guitar solo shot, it's a beautiful conceptual abstract
insert that
Sorry,
picture of us but just on Geordie from like our first band.
Isn't no, I'm gonna say it isn't post rock, just ego guitar pretty much most of it.
Turn all the pedals off. What are you?
A fake.
A fake.
Nothing worse than like reverb not being there.
Imagine what would you do without Big Sky,
We had some more questions. We had some more questions. Got asked some more questions.
Right, I never actually saw them come through. So like,
well, I've only picked like one or two.
we had questions come through.
Yeah, a couple.
I didn't know this.
No.
Where did we ask it?
On Instagram. I don't
When did this
a
happen?
couple weeks ago. We had
Wow,
questions.
great.
this is Max
Right.
at home just generating the questions.
No, I didn't do that. I'm not that sad. We got the question we always get whenever we're playing live or someone else says, "What's with the name Coldbones?"
Oh,
Uh,
I feel like we haven't been asked that too many times.
no, but I feel our standard answer
I'm
is
gonna say this. Sorry to cut you off again. I'll cut people off. Coldbones, first time been in the band, and actually liked the name of the band. Do you know what I mean? When you don't feel embarrassed about saying
Agreed.
it.
Yeah.
You agree on that?
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to mean anything.
No.
I think I've got my own personal relation to that name and what it could potentially mean. I know you probably have, and you probably have. When you give it a bit more deeper thought, there was a time when we were probably toying with the idea of like, what is Coldbones? Like, what could it be? What's the concept behind that? But actually, it just needs to be what it is to you as a person.
What you
know,
interpret it as.
Whatever you interpret it as.
I have never given it a thought.
Was it because around the time we had the demo called Winter, and we was trying to keep on that vibe, or not?
Possibly.
don't
Possibly. I think we've still got the Facebook group of
Yeah.
all the band names in there, and that by far is the one that
Oh my god.
there's like a couple of there's like a couple of comments like, oh, that's I think it's a cool name. It's a cool name.
Do you know who thought of it? Or whose idea it was?
I think it was mine, backed by you.
Have to have a look.
Joe liked it as well, actually.
I mean, obviously.
You want to have a look? He wants to fact check me.
Put a little registered trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This whole thing with the Smiths, isn't it? Have you seen that?
What's that?
And Johnny Marr and Morrissey, are like, there's all this stuff about them, who owns the trademark, the
really?
Smiths, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Got Morrissey and Johnny Marr sitting here fighting over who
That
thought
happened
of
with
the
the
name.
specials. I didn't realise this just random things. Specials.
Oh, I'll fight you all for the lyrics. So.
Nah.
Other questions?
I like
Other
that. I was
questions?
slow on that one. Yes, come on then.
Well, we answered one of those, like what we didn't celebrate, and we're basically sitting down doing this. I said we actually celebrated this album a couple of years ago. We played it in full in our local venue for Ryan, the promoter. That was great.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
And we played Brave as part of the set, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Did we
'cause-
play that between Summit and?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
actually
we
like
led into them and-
transitioned.
yeah.
like,
That's nice, isn't it? Forgot about that.
and again, like it took some work to get that set together. Like
Yeah.
those songs, that I don't know. I always just found them like they took more concentration than
Certainly
Any-
did.
The
Yeah.
the refreshing thing about when we did that show as well is that we had come off a slog, or not a slog, but we had been in the Cataclysm era for a
Yeah.
long time, and we'd
Long
been very
time because
used.
of COVID as well.
Yeah, we'd been very used to wearing the boiler suits.
yeah.
The stage show being very theatrical, and it was
intense.
very intense. And then suddenly we were going back to the roots, and we were like, wait, we can just wear our normal clothes on stage. And we, do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we just turned up,
Yeah.
played a show like any band would do,
Yeah.
or any band
It
that
was
doesn't
really
worry
cool.
about what they're wearing.
Yeah.
Nice to
And-
strip it back from
Strip
all
back,
the sort of
yeah.
like the big show of what Cataclysm was. You know,
Mm.
Yeah.
that's really nice.
100%. And I think the last question I picked, which we got a fair bit actually, is like, when are we going to play live again? And I think it's just really good to acknowledge the fact that we're all just really enjoying being in each other's company and
Being close.
and talking about this amazing EP that we produced, and we're in a really good place with all our personal lives and all our work, and it's just great to be a part of this band still in some way with each other. So
And being
that day may come,
being
that day may never come.
geographically close for the first time in years.
In
Absolutely.
4 years.
Back
yeah.
from Belgium in the UK,
It's like what we said. You know,
stone's throw from each other now.
when we put the post out, you know, we were saying like we want to like have like the legacy of like Coldbones be the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
And this is cool. This is what we're
And
doing
this is
now.
just
So
like, you know,
I'll come back to it. It's a celebration of love and friendship. We're just sitting here reminiscing on good times, having a beer, and we'll just see what happens. And it's really cool to be able to do this
hells yeah.
with the boys.
With the
So
boys.
cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Cheers to everyone for the support.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
honestly,
support.
like you know, I think all of us like we've had some of the best, like coolest experiences because of like this band. We've been able to do so much cool stuff from it. So like, and that comes with all that support that we get from listeners. You know,
Yeah.
people come to the shows. So like,
And also the tight crew that we've made
100%.
over the years as well. So
And it's great to still be like best buds in it.
yeah.
There we go.
Thank you very much for tuning into our not so 45-minute podcast
Definitely
of
not
the
45
Distance
minutes.
EP. But yeah, appreciate it. Cheers.